Hello, everybody. Bear with me in all of my tardiness, but we are here. We made it. We made it. I hope all is well today. And I don't know why my Instagram don't never want to Instagram the way it's supposed to Instagram. See if this works. Let me try it again. I hope all is well today, y'all. I hope y'all are all excited for the holiday season, even if it's just some extra R&R or time off. Not everybody celebrates, but even if it's just that, yeah, I don't know what's going on with the connection here with my Instagram. So, anybody that joins Instagram, please switch over to YouTube if you're not able to hear me. I'm not quite sure if you can or not on the Instagram side, but it keeps pausing on my end. So if you can't hear me on Instagram, switch over to YouTube, because I don't know why it's doing that. Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm gonna keep it on just in case you guys can hear me, but if you cannot, we're also on the YouTube channel. But yes, if this is your first time, my name is Debbie. I'm a certified mindfulness coach. I hope that all is well today and that this live is a blessing to you. Today we're talking about New Year's success. It's actually in follow-up to our live session last week where we talked about just the beginning of talking through like what to think about for the new year, what to reflect on. We talked a little bit about a few of the affirmations that I shared. So definitely go back to that one. If you're on Instagram, look at it on YouTube, but you can always go back to that original video to see those affirmations and what we talked through. But I will be mentioning a few of the things that we talked about. Hello, Hiru. Welcome in. Hello. Is it Ezel? Am I saying that right? Welcome in. Hi, Nevea, if I'm saying that right. Welcome in. So we're going to dive into New Year's success. I hope that these tips are helpful. I also hope that the affirmations that we share today are helpful. I have 5 affirmations for you today. So feel free to write them down or call you Vea. Hi, Vea. Welcome in. Hi, Dennis. Welcome in. Thank you so much for joining. So what we'll do is I'll kind of briefly go back over like what we talked about last week, just so that way it makes sense for this week, and then we'll dive into today's affirmations. But this is a very interactive live, so feel free to ask questions in the comments. If you have anything that you want me to repeat or go back over, let me know. But yeah, let's dive in. Last week when we talked about New Year's success, there were 2 points that I wanted to like drive home, which was one, making sure that when we're thinking about New Year's success, that we're not just thinking about a resolution, right? We're thinking about our holistic view or a holistic view of what we want out of life for 2025. So I started with first reflection of this year. You don't know where you're going until you know where you've been. So really taking the time to reflect on where you have been up until this point, and then diving into what you want, right? So what do you want for 2025? Defining that and understanding your why. So that's what we talked about last week. Again, if you want to get like the detailed information, please go back to that video. It was definitely helpful. And it was our most recent live from last week. Yeah. So when it comes to this week, One thing I want to dive into, there's two more points, but the one that's really important is when thinking about New Year success, right? When thinking in whatever year you're going into, right? You want to think about how you can explore and embrace opportunities for growth. Because ultimately, when we're thinking about having success and thinking about going into the new year and making changes and adjustments, it always is linked back to creating a better version of ourselves, right? So, what does better look like? And really thinking through that, and exploring what growth and what opportunities for growth that you have. So that way you can really take the time to figure that part of it out. A lot of times we think we want better, or we want to be a better version of ourselves. We want to look a certain way, but we don't know what better looks like. And we never outline what better looks like for us. Because a lot of times better looks like somebody else, right? It looks like something that we've seen rather than it being an evolved version of who we want to be, right? So, thinking through how you can explore and embrace opportunities for growth and what that looks like for you, because better for you may not be better for the next person. And a lot of times we look over the fence to try to determine like what we want and what better looks like, right? But really what's most important is what we feel like better looks like and how we're going to get there and what opportunities for growth we can really dive into when going into the new year. How do we do that? We think about what type of person that I want to be and where am I now and what do I need to be doing to get there. Being creative, thinking outside of the box of what that looks like. Skill development. Is there a version of myself that I want, but I don't have the skill set yet? What does that skill set development look like? So really thinking through and exploring and embracing opportunities for growth. And it's not even on the physical sense. It's not even because we always think about weight loss. We always thinking about our career. We always think about like how we want to advance our education. Those are all great, well and good. But how do I want to what does being a better person look like? What are the characteristics that I want to exude? Like, hey, like I can ultimately be a stubborn person. And this is something that I'm like working on, right? Just thinking through like what are those characteristics that you may want to work through. So thinking outside of the box of, hey, I want to be this in my career, or I want to be this physically, or I want to do this, or I want to do that. Thinking more so about what is the character that I want to convey and how can I get there, right? So that was point number one. Embrace and explore opportunities for growth and really think through those things. Hey, Shaphonia, welcome in. And really think about those things. Point number two is taking inventory of your mood and energy. How do you feel now before going into the new year? What are you optimistic about? What worries you going into the new year? Exploring all of those things, because when you're thinking about creating success in the new year, especially in the climate that we're in, there's just a lot happening right now. Okay, like there's just a lot happening. The weather is all over the place. We got random drones in different states. We got a wild 4 years of a president that's coming. We got grocery prices up the wazoo. We got a whole lot going on, right? And thinking about and evaluating and taking inventory of your mood and energy, where it is at now, and really exploring what are the things that you're worried about, what are the things that you're optimistic about, what are the things that you're positive about, what are the things that you have negative thoughts about, what keeps you up at night. Really exploring that and gaining an understanding of that, and then taking action, right? Being grateful for the optimism that you have and for the positivity that you have, but then also for the worries and the negativity, taking action on what you can do and what you can control. What can you control? plan for productivity, but also plan for rest. I feel like we always plan out how we're going to be super productive and all of these things that we plan on doing. And I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this, I'm going to check off my list, and I'm going to do all of these things. But we also don't put in there like, okay, when am I going to rest? When am I going to restore myself? When am I going to take the time to refill my cup? What am I going to do on a monthly basis to ensure that that I take some time for myself, so that way I'm not pouring from an empty cup? Because I know that it's important to plan all of these successful strategies and make all of these goals and all of these things, but if we're not intentionally thinking about how we're going to restore, how we're going to fill ourselves back up, how we're going to take times for ourselves, how we're going to care for ourselves, how we're going to be compassionate and empathize towards show empathy towards ourselves, then that's how we end up in burnout by February. This is how we end up depressed by March, okay? This is how we end up drained by the time we hit May, because of the fact that we're not taking the time to not just think about our productivity, but how we're going to rest, how we're going to refill, how are we going to restore, okay? So thinking about all of that is really, 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 really important, okay? So those are just the 2 tips that I wanted to bring out. Explore and embrace opportunities for growth, but also take inventory of your mood and energy. Plan for productivity and rest. Find ways to develop positive habits and routines. And this is where your journaling and your affirmations come into play, right? I know that there's a few times where I get questions, and I get this question. I get it often. I get this same question asked in different ways. Let me say it that way. And the question is, what if I have a positive affirmation that I'm saying, but I don't necessarily believe, which can very well be true, right? A lot of times when I go through these affirmations, I may share them. I always tell you guys, like, hey, make sure, like, if you need to change the language, so that way it makes sense for you. If you don't feel comfortable saying them out loud, but you want to write them and journal them, then do so. Utilize the affirmations as much as possible, but you can change the language to where it makes it or holds more true to you than the way that I may present them here. There also is an element of affirmations that are faith-based, something that you may not necessarily see in the physical right now, but it's a matter of you taking in and believing within yourself that it can actually happen. So when it comes to thinking about taking inventory of our mood and energy, thinking about what are those things that you're going to need to hear on a daily basis? Where are you struggling the most when it comes to your daily routines? Is it discipline? Is it just your energy levels? Like you just wake up tired? Is it belief in yourself or self-doubt? Is it self-care? Like really thinking about what it is that you need based off of your mood and energy now and how you're feeling about going into that new year, and developing your affirmations around that. But then also, in addition to that, thinking through the language of the affirmations and what actually holds true for you. What makes the most sense for you. A lot of times if it's something that I don't believe or I want to believe, but it's not quite there right now, I always start with I attract rather than I am. Because I am states that this is something that I believe, right? This is something that I am currently. But if it's something that I want, but it's not necessarily something I have now, I shift my language to I attract, because then that's something that I can actually believe in. So when you're thinking about journaling, when you're thinking about affirmations specifically when it comes to journaling, thinking about the terminology so that way it makes sense for you. Because I always hear like, oh, well, do you think that positive affirmations really work? Or do you think that this is just like you just kind of wishing and hoping? To some element, yes, it kind of is like wishing and hoping. But then on the other hand, you have to use them to your advantage and use them in a way to where it makes sense for you. If these affirmations don't hold true to you now, then they don't hold true to you now. Maybe write them down, and maybe down the line it will be something that will hold true to you down the line. But really taking the time to think through, where is my mood, where's my energy, where are my emotions, where am I at now, and based off of that, developing your journaling prompts and your affirmations versus just taking like random questions or random affirmations and trying to apply them. So I hope that's helpful when thinking about planning out your routines, planning out your habits, but also using journaling and affirmations. Because I think we are in this era of everybody has a journal prompt, everybody has an affirmation, but it doesn't always hold true or make sense based off of where you are in the moment. And that's why we feel like they don't work, right? Because it's like, why am I journaling this if I'm not here? I'm here, I'm way over here, but this isn't applying to me right now. So think through that when taking inventory of your mood and energy, where your optimism is, where your worries are, where your anxiety is, and developing your journaling and your affirmations based off that. Okay, so with that being said, we're going to dive into affirmations. Again, like I stated, feel free to use these affirmations however you wish to. You can write them down in your journals. You can do sticky notes. You can record yourself saying them. You can recite them in the morning. You can pick and choose whichever ones make the most sense for you. And of course, change the language if you need to change the language so it makes more sense. I have 5 affirmations specifically surrounding embracing the opportunities for growth and then taking inventory of your mood and energy. But I always say too, like with these affirmations that I share, these are a starting point. If you, based off of what you hear, if it, encourages you to think of others, feel free to use that or use those that make the most sense. It's not so much about the how it's said, because it may sound all eloquent or whatever. But as long as it's something that it holds true to you and is most and really important to you, and it's something that you feel like you need, do it. This is just a template. It's not absolute. Okay. So we have 5, and I'm squinting because my screen for some reason is small. Why? Let's make this bigger. But I hope all is well. Talk back to me, y'all. I hope all is well today. I hope these are helpful. I hope at least one thing I've said today resonates. Okay, here we go. All right, number 1. I attract opportunities that align with my goals and values. I attract opportunities that align with my goals and values. I attract opportunities that align with my goals and values. Again, there goes that term, that phrase in the beginning, I attract, right? Because you may be in a space right now where the opportunities you got this year in 2024 didn't align with your goals and values. And you saying my opportunities align with my goals and values may not make sense for you right now, right? So I attract opportunities that align with my goals and values. If you want to be specific, you can say in 2025. So it's just a matter, this affirmation is just a matter of challenging your expectations. Sometimes we expect failure. Sometimes we expect chaos. Sometimes we expect ruin because that's all we've seen, right? Whether that be that's all we've seen this year, or that's how our lives have turned out, or those are the cards that we were dealt. So because of the fact that that's what we are subconsciously expecting, this is what we're attracting, right? Or we're not able to we're blind to the opportunities that are associated with our goals and values because of the fact that we're so used to chaos, we're so used to ruin, so that way we gravitate towards those things that are familiar. And just because something is familiar doesn't mean that it's good for you. Just because something is familiar doesn't mean that it's not trauma based. Just because something is familiar doesn't mean that it's taking you off of your course that you want to be on. So really thinking about your expectations. And yeah, in my mind, do I understand and know that I should have these expectations of what I should be expecting and what I want and what I should want out of life? Yeah, we may know that. But subconsciously, we may be expecting the total opposite. And because we're having these conflicting core beliefs, right? Because you may have one core belief that says, hey, I want to be I want to be in this industry, right? I want to be a veterinarian. But that would maybe one core belief. But then on the other side, you may think of, well, I'm not smart enough to go to school for that. So these things are button heads, and because they're button heads, we're not getting any progress. So thinking about not just what your goals and values are, but also what your expectations are, your real expectations. This takes a whole lot of honesty. This takes a whole lot of truth within yourself for you to be honest with yourself and be like, you know what? I want this, but I feel this. And when you're able to have that conversation with yourself and say, hey, I know that I want this, but I feel this. How can I shift my mindset? How can I change how I think about those things? And that's the beginning of challenging your expectations. So challenge your expectations. Some of us are expecting failure, chaos, and ruin, expecting better, but also putting in the work that's needed. A lot of times we have these very high expectations, but we're not doing what we need to do to get there, right? We have the whole scenario of I want to be a veterinarian, but I don't think I'm smart enough to be a veterinarian. How can you get smarter? What skill set do you need? Reading more, right? Do I need to go back to school? Do I need to enhance my math skills? Do I need to enhance my biology skills or my science skills? What can I do? What work can I do to be smarter? Everybody talks about, oh, I'm not smart enough for this. I'm not smart enough for that. How did people get smart? They worked. They worked at it. There are some people that are natural, that are naturally may be able to read something and just memorize it or whatever. But it doesn't make it any different than someone that may be dyslexic. You don't think there's dyslexic doctors? You don't think there's dyslexic, lawyers? You don't think that there's, and who's to say that these people are the smartest? Just because you're a doctor don't mean that you are, you may be smart book-wise, but are you smart when it comes to life, when it comes to people, when it comes to interacting with people? So I guess we kind of can challenge what is smart. So just thinking about what work you can do to get there versus wallowing in the pain of not being there. Okay. And that goes back to what does better look like when I talked about earlier. Really defining what a better version of you looks like for you without any voices of anybody else that's around you. What does better look like for you? That was number one. I'm sorry, I rambled, y'all. My bad. I hope it was helpful though. That was number one. I attract opportunities that align with my goals and values. Number two, growth comes from curiosity, and I am eager to learn new things. Growth comes from curiosity, and I am eager to learn new things. Growth comes from curiosity, and I am eager to learn new things. A lot of times we're struggling in our goals, in our skill sets, in bettering ourselves because we're not asking questions. We're not asking questions and we're not asking the right questions. And the more curious you are, the more that you can ask questions and ask the why until you can't ask why anymore, the more that you'll be able to grow as an individual. Sometimes we lack growth because we're in denial, because we lack follow-up, we lack discipline, and we don't ask questions. We just allow things to ride, right? We just are passive in everything that we do. And as we shift and think about growing and being better versions of ourselves, that starts with thinking critically and asking the right questions. So be curious. Be curious about everything about life. Be curious about your thought patterns. Be curious of why you want the things that you want. I talked about that last week when we talked about understanding our goals and what we want, but then asking and understanding the why. Because a lot of times we are going for things that we want and don't know why. We're just doing it because we think it's what we're supposed to do, right? Or my mom told me that I need to do this, or somebody told me that I'm good at this. No, why do I want this goal? Why do I want to go this route? Why do I want this career? Why do I want to have children? Why do I want to have a family? Why do I want all of these things? Thinking about and being curious about those things and really asking the questions to yourself, but then also when you're in these environments and looking to grow skills and grow from where you are currently, asking questions to the people that are already there, right? If I want to be a manager and I have a manager, ask questions. So how did you get where you are now? What did you do? Like thinking about what are the questions that you already have in your head that you're afraid to ask, and ask them. If it's something that you can Google it. If it's something that you can do a chat GPT search, then do a chat GPT search. If it's something that you can do a quick, Udemy class online for, then do it. Or a quick LinkedIn class, then do it. Don't be afraid to ask questions and want to learn more. Because the more that you learn, the more you grow, the smarter you become. When you think about, oh, I'm not smart enough. A lot of times we're not smart enough. It's just because we're missing information, not because we're not able to retain the information that we're missing. I hope that makes sense. A lot of times, and I'm saying that because I was that person. I wouldn't be in the program that I'm in now for the longest time. I told myself that I wasn't smart enough. I wouldn't be able to do it. But I'm almost a year in. GPA 3.8. Okay? But I'm not smart enough, right? So like taking the time to like really understand, like, especially if not being smart enough is something that you tell yourself often. It's not necessarily that you're not smart enough. It's just a matter of you not having the information you need. And once you get the information you need, then you'll be able to retain it. Smarts is more so of being able to retain information, understand the information, and apply the information. It's not how much information you know. I don't know why I'm on that, but I'm pretty sure it's probably helping somebody. So just keep that in mind. It's not even about being smart. It's more so about, I just need the info. And once you get the info, the rest will fall into place. As long as you put action, wise action behind the info. Because there's a lot of smart people that do silly things. Okay? So think about that. Where was I at? I didn't even say my notes from here. So growth comes from curiosity, and I'm eager to learn new things. So be open, not to just learning new things, but open to the possibilities in the process of life. Sometimes when we think about possibilities, we have set in our mind what those possibilities are supposed to be. And when we don't see those specific possibilities or opportunities, we feel like we failed. But we have to be open to, okay, this is my goal, but it can come to me in many different ways versus it being, oh, it's only supposed to come to me this one way is what's most important. Because a lot of times we may approach or complete or accomplish our goals, they just may not look the way that we thought it was going to look. The people that we thought were going to be involved weren't involved. The process that we thought was going to be the process wasn't necessarily the process. So being open to not just possibilities, but also it coming to you in different ways outside of what you're expecting. If you cannot have any expectations of what that process should look like, that's even better. But I know we're human, and the humanistic side of us is going to say, okay, this is what I want. The process is going to look this, and this, and then it could look this, and this. But if it doesn't work that way, it also can look this, and this, right? So we have all of these expectations and ideas in our mind of what it's supposed to look like. But then when it actually happens, it looks nothing like our expectations of what we were thought it was supposed to look like. So really thinking through those things and being critical of like what the process is supposed to look like. My bad, y'all. This is like mad loud. Of what the process is supposed to look like. That's understandable. Like I said, it's a human thing. It's in our human nature to do so. But outside of that, being open to it not looking that way. Okay. So that was number 2. Growth comes from curiosity, and I am eager to learn new things. Number 3, I am mindful of my emotions and honor the messages they bring. I am mindful of my emotions and honor the messages they bring. I am mindful of my emotions and honor the messages they bring. So I've said this before, and I'll say it again, y'all. Our emotions are teachers. Our emotions teach us about ourselves, and they teach us about the environment we're in, as well as it teaches us about the people around us. So understand and honor our emotions as messengers versus it being negative and positive emotions is what's key and important. Because once we have that shift in mindset of how we view our emotions, a lot of times we have these secondary emotions that happen with our negative emotions. And those happen because of the fact that we're thinking of it in a way to where anger is negative and happiness is positive, right? And once we're able to shift that and understand that all of these emotions that we're experiencing are important and that they teach us about our environment, about ourselves, and the people around us. So if I'm angry when I'm in the presence of this person, what does that tell me about this relationship, right? If I am happy or if I am joyful when I'm in, the presence of this person, what does that tell me about this relationship, right? If I am always inspired or if I'm always feeling like I need to do more, be a better version of myself when I'm in this group of people, then what does that tell me about this group of people, right? So do I gravitate to the person that always it has me in an angry state, that always has me frustrated, discouraged, or questioning myself or feeling bad about myself? Or do I shift to the group of people that makes me feel inspired, that makes me feel like I'm understood, that makes me feel like I can be a better version of me, that gets me to the point where I want to do better or strive for better or makes me think outside of the box. So our emotions teach us about our environments, about the people we interact with, and about ourselves. It may show ourselves, it may show us like, hey, I got to do better in this area. This is something that I still struggle with, So thinking about our emotions in that light, rather than these are negative and these are positive, will show us more about how we can evolve and grow versus us just trying to manage these emotions. Because it's not even us trying to manage the emotions, it's us trying to manage our actions behind the emotions. Because your emotion can be there. You can be angry. You may be completely justified in your anger. So you're not necessarily trying to manage your anger. It's more so managing my actions behind my anger. What do I do with that anger is what's most important. So I think we have just these normal terminology and phrases that we use that aren't necessarily 100% correct. You're not necessarily managing your emotions, you're managing your actions. Your emotions is just what ignites the action. So I hope that was helpful. That was number 3. Number 4, we have 2 more. Number 4, my energy is a valuable resource, and I choose to use it wisely. My energy is a valuable resource, and I choose to use it wisely. My energy is a valuable resource, and I choose to use it wisely. Y'all, sometimes we is tired because we are wasting our energy. Stop wasting your energy on things that do not matter, on people that do not matter, to environments and situations that do not matter. Because a lot of times we find ourselves in burnout mode quickly, or we find ourselves depressed or depleted or exhausted because we're spewing our energy into things that are just drainers. It's just literally a drain. And if the faucet is on and everything is just going down the drain, right? And we are feeding our energy into that, and it's never ending because the drain is always open and it's always going to take whatever energy you have. So thinking about and being wise about where you're spending your energy and understanding and protecting that energy as a resource, as a valuable resource. We, as a country, we may protect our resources, whether it be our gas or oil or our, our water, whatever. We have to think of our energy in that same way. We have to protect it, right? So take that into consideration when thinking about the environments that you're currently in and what you're going to be going into when you go into 2025. Now, granted, is everything going to be peaches and rainbows and roses? No. And there's going to be some situations and environments that are going to be more difficult than others. That's fine. We understand that. But there are some spaces that we find ourselves in. There are some groups of people that we find ourselves in. There are some relationships that we find ourselves in that only drain. They don't fill us back up. And that leads us into number 5, our last affirmation. I pay attention to what energizes and drains me, and I align my actions accordingly. I pay attention to what energizes and drains me, and I align my actions accordingly. I'll say that one last time. I pay attention to what energizes and drains me, and I align my actions accordingly. Use wisdom when it comes to your energy and be mindful of the people and things that drain but do not replenish you. If it doesn't fill you back up ever, right? If the environment or the person or the group of people that you're around doesn't ever fill you back up, never speaks life into you, never brings any type of restoration to your heart, your soul, or your spirit, why are we there? Why? Why are we there? And I say that as someone who has poured into situations, and because I want to help, and my empathy is all the way up here, and I really want to be a resource of help for others and for environments and for the things around me. Sometimes you may find yourself in situations where it's not pouring back into you. You're pouring and then your cup is empty, and you're like basically got the cup flipped over upside down, and you just patting the bottom, and you just trying to look and see if there's more juice in there, and there's nothing. It's dry. Okay? Bone dry. All right? So being mindful of those people, groups, and environments that drain but do not restore. Do our jobs, drain, and sometimes feel like it don't restore? I get it. I understand. At least the paycheck coming. Okay, that's a little bit restorative. If it's a good check, even better. But really thinking about those spaces that drain your energy. There's times where I've quit jobs before even having another job lined up, because it was just that bad. It just drained me that much. And when I walked out, I was just like, Oh, I feel so much better. Knowing you ain't got a check coming, but it feels so much better. That's when you know for a fact that it's like, okay, this was too much for me. So in our reflection, I know that we talked about reflecting on the past year, but in our reflection, really taking the time to understand what is energizing us and what is draining us, and make adjustments as needed. Look for areas of restoration. What is restoring you? What replenishes you? What fills you back up? Is it inspiration? Is it learning new things? For me, it's learning new things. Like, learning new things makes me feel so excited, and it gets me ramped up, especially for things that I really do care about and want to know about. What are things that you want to know about? What are things, and it could be random. Like, I want to know how to bake a cake. Okay. Figure out how to bake a cake, and you'll get so engulfed and get so into it to the point where you're like, oh my gosh. And then when you accomplish it, you're like, oh my gosh, I accomplished it. Is it small? Yes. But does that build up your momentum and confidence to do the big stuff? Yes. Yeah, it does. So just really thinking about all of these things. I know it's a lot. I know I shared a lot, but feel free to come back and watch the video over again. But I hope this was a blessing, y'all. I'll go back to the top of the affirmations before we leave out. Number 1 was, I attract opportunities that align with my goals and values. Number 2 was, growth comes from curiosity and I'm eager to learn new things. Number 3, I am mindful of my emotions and honor the messages they bring. Number 4, my energy is a valuable resource and I choose to use it wisely. And number 5, I pay attention to what energizes and drains me, and I align my actions accordingly. I hope this was helpful, y'all. This is our last live for the year. So many blessings to all of you. I'm going to be on break, planning that rest, okay? Because I need it. Between school, work, and business, hey, it's a lot. So I planned my restoration. So this will be the last live for 2024. The next one will be that first week after the new year. I think it might be January 6th. I think that might be the date, if I'm not mistaken. So join me back here on January 6th. I'll be posting the poll probably the week ahead of time, just so that way we can get some topics or things that you guys want to talk about. You can also leave comments in this video as far as like what are some of the topics you would like to see, and I'll add them to the poll. You will most likely get some more meditations as well between now and then. I probably will. I don't want to say 4 more meditations. It might be 3. I don't know. I'm playing around with topics, but I hope that to get those out between now and the end of the year. You're welcome, Shaphonia. Thank you so much for joining. But yeah, so I'll thank you, Gwen. Same to you. And then, yeah, so make sure to also sign up for the newsletter. So if you go to haveninspired.com, you'll be able to sign up for the newsletter. You'll be able to get all of the updates from all of the lives, as well as all of the meditations. And then you can check out the rest of the stuff that we have going on. And I did open up my calendar for 2025. I do corporate mindfulness workshops. So if you at your job or a company or even at a private event are looking for a mindfulness workshop or journaling and meditation sessions, definitely let me know. Depending on where you are, we'll travel. I'm in the Midwest. I'm in Chicago. But yeah, so check all of that out on the website. But until next time, y'all have a blessed holiday. Merry Christmas. I say it like that, y'all. Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. And I will see you all soon. Bye, Hiru. Thank you for joining. Y'all have a great rest of your night. Bye.